Lesson 12, Keyboard Input. For this lesson, we'll be working to see if certain keys are pressed. There's a code that was new for this lesson. It's key down, and this will tell us whether or not a key is being pressed. It will return a true or false. So let's go ahead and start with exercise 2 here. Prediction, key down. The key down block is the first of a new set of blocks that will let us get input from the user. This is the first step on our road to actually making games. See if you can predict how the key down block works. You will not write any code. So for this one, we're going to read the program and make a prediction about how the code will run. Okay, so let's see here. So we've got the draw function. It has a background. It's got some text in the center. Text size 100. Text key down space 200 200. So my prediction is it's going to give a true or a false depending on if the space bar is pressed down. So all right, let's go ahead and try this. And I'm going to hold the space bar down while I press run and see what happens. True, false, true, false, true, false. So I keep clicking on the space bar and it goes true. I let go and it says false. Let's continue to the next exercise. You saw on the last level that key down returns true when you're holding a key down and false when the key is not pressed down. The input for the key down command is the name of the key you want to check, in quotes. Some examples are X, up, and space. We can use key down as an input to an if statement to change our animations based on key presses. So we need to run the code and try pressing the P and H keys and look inside the if statement to see how the code works. So let's run it, and then I'll press P, and then I'll press H, P, H. So from pig for P and H for hippopotamus. All right, so let's add a block inside the third if statement to change the animation to a different animal. So we've got one for the hippo, one for the pig. So R, if key down R, let's say Sprite.animation. Let's set it to rabbit for R. And then run the code. And let's press R, and a rabbit shows up. So let's go ahead and move on to the next exercise. In this one, we'll be moving sprites. We can change a sprite's position based on key presses in the same way that we changed its animations. So we're going to add an if statement inside the draw loop. So here's our draw loop. Check whether the right arrow key has been pressed down. Add code inside the conditional to move the sprite right if the right arrow is down. Okay, so if statement, check if the right arrow key has been pressed down. So let's go to our control and say if, and we want key down right. So let's see, key down, it's in the world menu. If the right arrow is pressed, then we want the sprite to move to the right. So the sprite is called bug. So if that happens, we want to, let's go to math. Oh, that's not going to work. There we go. Sprite.x. So bug.x equals bug.x plus, let's say, 2 each time. So if we run this, I'm going to press the right arrow, and if I hold it down, it moves 2 pixels at a time. If I press it once, it'll just move 2 pixels. So that's working. And let's go ahead and move to the next one. Exercise 5, fish with arrows. The fish are back. Can you make the fish move left only when the left arrow key is pressed down? So you move left only when the left arrow key is pressed down. So add an if statement to check when the left arrow key is pressed down, and move the commands for moving the fish inside the if statement. So we'll go to control, grab our if statement, we'll come down here, and we'll say, let's put it right here, if key down, and we're going to check when the left arrow key is pressed. So left should be in the drop down menu. And we will make all of the fish move. So we've got these pieces of code. The fish.x is equal to whatever the fish name.x is, -2, -3, -1, depending on how fast they're going. So if I press the left arrow, then they start moving, and then every time I let go, they stop. All right, exercise 6, gears with conditionals. Let's make the gears spin only when the space key is being held down. So we're going to add an if statement and use key down as an input to the if statement to check where the key's been pressed. So we'll come over here, go to our if statement, come into our function. We're going to say if the space is being pressed, so if key down space, then we're going to have all these gears do their rotation. So we'll put each of these gear.rotation commands that are changing the value. We'll put all those in there inside the if statement. So if the key down is space, then all this stuff's going to happen. They'll all start moving. So nothing's happening. Now I press the space bar, they move, I let go, and it stops. Okay, moving in all directions. Once you've got your sprite moving in one direction by responding to a key down, getting it to move in all 4 directions should be more of the same. The basic keyboard control that you're developing here will become the basis for many of the games you make down the road. So do this. This bug sprite you made responds to the right arrow, has been brought to this level. Add the interaction for the other 3 arrows. So we need 3 more if statements for the other 3 directions. And it wants us to add a comment for each if statement and make sure it moves the bug in the correct direction. So we've got if key down right, the bug moves 2 to the right. So we've got some comments there. Let's grab a comment and we'll say if left arrow pressed, move bug to left. And then let's grab another comment. If up arrow pressed, move bug up. And one more for down. And we'll put the code after the comments. If down arrow pressed, move bug down. Alright, so let's get the actual code in there. So we've got this if statement and it shows what's happening. I'm going to make it a little bit easier on myself and I'm actually going to copy the text. So I switch to text mode and I can copy the code and then I will put it in here and we'll update this. If key down left, then bug x equals bug x -2. So I'm just editing this code so that I don't have to drag all the blocks over. I'm just copying and pasting it and then editing it. So for this one, the comment if up arrow is pressed, so I need to change this to up so it matches my comments. And then I'm going to say bug.y equals bug.y -2, because when we're moving up here with JavaScript, it's going to be a minus for the y. Then we need to add one more set of commands for if the down arrow is pressed. So if key down is down, then bug.y equals bug.y plus 2. And I'll turn the blocks back on so we can see how all that code's in there now. And we have our little comment codes in there as well. So let's see if this works. So I'm going to press on the right arrow, press on the up, press on left, press on down. Now, he's moving where he's supposed to. You could change things like the rotation as well, but that would be adding extra code. So there's a quick lesson here on how to edit images, how you can copy, flip, and rotate. So that rotation would be useful as setting another animation for when you decide to turn your bug to the left or point up or whatever direction that is. So let's go ahead and move to the next one. And right now, our conditionals change the X and Y, but we can actually put as much code as we want, like I said earlier. So we want to duplicate the bug 4 times, and each of your images points the bug in a certain direction. So we can use the Sprite.setAnimation to change the image on the bug when you press the different arrow keys. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go to our animation. Where's our bug? Let's go to our ladybug, and then we want to duplicate this. So we'll say duplicate, and we'll want to flip this, flip vertically. Okay, so now we've got ladybug. Let's just rename this to ladybug left, make it easier, see which direction it's pointed, and then we can duplicate this again, and let's rotate this. We'll say ladybug down, just so it's easier to pick the animations and know what they match with. And then let's duplicate this, and we will rotate this, and we'll say ladybug. We'll call this ladybug up. Okay, so now we've got 4 different animations for the ladybug, so they can go right, left, down, or up. Let's go back over to our code, and let's go ahead and change those. Add a new line of code. We've got Sprite.setAnimation2. So if right is being pressed, we're going to set the bug.setAnimation to ladybug, which is the normal one, and then we'll go ahead and do that for the others. Sprite.setAnimation, let's change that to bug.setAnimation, make sure it matches the name of your sprite. And then this was left, so ladybug left is going to be the animation. And let's do the last 2. If key down is up, then we're going to say bug.setAnimation to ladybug up. And finally, bring this over to the key down as down and say bug.setAnimation to ladybug down. Okay, let's go ahead and run this and make sure it works. So I'm pressing the right arrow, now I'm pressing up, now I'm pressing left, now I'm pressing down. So that works perfectly. All right, and that's it for lesson 12.